Just like I said, just keep inspiring, and listen to my Christian music. My client is getting a haircut, getting his edges trimmed, and he didn't make it to the gym. He took too long. He was on a Zoom call for a long time doing business. He was going to go to the gym, but he has a business meeting at the office at 12, so he's getting his hair cut, trimmed up, touched up, because you always got to look good in business. First impression is your last impression, so, Miss Impeccable's got to look good. And now I'm called Miss Pinkalicious, because he said you like pink, and pink is you, and then alicious meaning, he said it's meaning like you shine, you sparkle, you got that bling bling, shining your light. But then, and then we also said, because you're delicious, and I was like, he's wanting to do this show called the Pinkalicious Show, the Miss Pinkalicious Show, and that's what it's going to call. He thought about it yesterday because we were trying to think of a way. He's trying to think of a way, something to help me get the money and some riches coming in, make a lot of money real soon and real quick, something to get some money coming in real quick, right? So my client, he asked me to take 10%, right? He said that's all he could give me. At first it was going to be, him creating a company, Impeccable Transportation LLC, which is my DBA, Impeccable Transportation, doing business as. That's what I do now for my Impeccablerideshare LLC. I have a DBA, and that's what I go by, so people know that this is transportation, luxury, fleet, industry, limousine, and party bus. This ain't no rideshare. And there's nowhere on my website it shows that I'm a rideshare. It shows that I'm a high-end fleet service. But, people still look at the name and they think different. So I created Impeccable Transportation DBA. He was going to create Impeccable Transportation LLC and us do 60-40 because he's doing all the money, putting up all the money for the vehicles and stuff because, I'm at rock bottom. I don't have nothing. I'm basically homeless. I couldn't afford my own place. I can't afford food. I can't afford my car. He's paying my car. He buys me food every day. He takes care of me. He pays for my gas. He's paying for my maintenance now, whatever I need. He's really, really amazing. Just an amazing person that God sent me, and he found my card at a car wash, just like the high school that I did a event back to school last Saturday at a high school, Oak Forest High School, and the Woodlands. They found my card. She said she found it at Penny. She found it at this restaurant. And I have my cards everywhere. Everywhere I go, I put them: restaurants, bathrooms, bars, clubs, hotels, strip clubs, you name it. My card is out there. I'm out there. Go get her, everything. Well, she found it, and I did a back to school event. But he said, you know what, Shelly, you're an entertainer. I like to entertain my rides, and, I'll be partying with them. I was like, come on, turn down for what? Drop it low, girl. We just have a good time. You live your best life. YOLO, you only live once. So let's live our best life, and let's party this life on out, because this life is short. We're not here for a long time, just like someone told me. We're here for a damn good time. You're only here for a short time on this planet, on this side of the dirt. And then we're going to go the other side, go to heaven to be with our loved ones. Just like I said, when my mom went, it's not saying goodbye, Mom. I love you. I'll see you again later. I'll see you soon. And, when it's our timing and God calls us. But, he's like, you're inspiring. You're funny. He's like, you entertain your rides. Me and him be talking all kinds of shit. He'd be talking dirty, but he's funny. We're just real cool like that. So we make each other crack up and laugh, right? Never had a client like that talks like that and all that. That's real free, real open, and just real personable, and not all serious. Life isn't all serious. It's got to be. You can't be all serious and have a damn stroke. You gotta have some fun and games and some laughs and some good times and have some personality, some humor, right? So we be cracking each other up, and he's like, Shelly, I just thought about it, because I told him I'm getting on all these TV shows. I'm getting these casting calls. I seen a casting call I applied for. They said they need someone that's willing to fulfill a fantasy. I said, shoot, Miss Impeccable is down. I'm down for whatever. Whatever's going to bring the riches. I'll get in a fantasy movie or a movie clip or short clip. and fulfill someone's fantasy, because that's what my third book is about. I got it to a publisher, someone publishing it basically for free. They wanted me, they found me on LinkedIn, and it's going to be a sexually explicit, romance, hot, spicy novel, and it's going to get into the movies. It's going to be great, and it's going to be the top of the charts, get people to take it to the hotel motel lobby, Holiday Inn, like that Pitbull hotel room song, and it's going to be hit the top of the charts, make millions, billions, So, you got to dream big, you got to claim it, you got to manifest it, you got to speak it, and it's happening. Just like I said, I might not have the riches now. That's the only thing I'm lacking. I have all these riches with success, all the magazines I keep getting into, all these magazines on Instagram. They keep hitting me up, magazines on LinkedIn, for the business and inspiration, and for my books, they keep hitting me up because I'm inspiring. And then also, I just got selected for LinkedIn to be on another TV show. It's called The Little Bit Show with Melanie something. And it's about inspiring people in the community. She wanted to hear my story. She's like, how are you inspiring? Why would we choose you? And she loves everything about me, how I told her about my third book, how I want to get it hot, explicit, spicy, romance novel, get it into the movies. How my first book, she wanted to know what's the story behind the first book. I told her an inspiring memoir, struggle, perseverance, homelessness, single motherhood, grit, resilience, me not wanting to be here in my life, finding my new life, my new passion, my purpose, my inspiration through God giving me my purpose, which at the time was my business. Now it's to encourage and inspire and uplift others. And the gift of encouragement is my passion now. So, God changed my purpose through this whole journey, but it's still, of course, to get your books into the movies, get your books on bookshelves, online bookshelves, bookstores, get your business going. Now my AI team that's creating the third book, they created a three-story storefront, right? They call it the Legacy Complex. I'm all about leaving my legacy, and I'm definitely leaving my legacy, Miss Impeccable over here. Definitely going to be living my legacy and leaving a legacy behind for the world to know me years and generations down the road, just like Grant Cardone. You can always be able to find him. People will always be able to tell about Grant Cardone. And the same as many other ones, Kevin Hart, Usher, Beyonce, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tyler Perry, all these great speakers, Kendra Scott, Elena Cardone, which is his wife, his two daughters, the Cardones, just many people. Andrew Cordell, he's a really funny comedian, and he's a multi-billionaire, and he's got his own OnlyFans channel, like OnlyFans for the business. Like, he's doing it on OnlyFans, making millions, billions, whatever, So there's all kinds of business owners out there. Kendra Scott, jewelers. I met her out there. I met Sarah Blakely. Jesse Itzler, which is her husband. Sarah Blakely owns Spanx. Is the founder of Spanx, the tights for women to work out in, or just to wear to look cute and sexy in. But just like I said, I'm getting on this Little Bit show. I know she's going to put me. I'm already claiming it. I did my pre-interview yesterday, and she's looking for the next person of inspiration to put on there, the next face. I said, this is it right here. And then I'm going to be at a conference, speaking at a women conference in October to over 50 women, and I have several people said they want to come see me speak and hear me speak and hear my story of how I'm going to light up that room and burn down the stage and burn down the building and burn down the nations, and how I want to get up on stages and speak around the world and in schools, colleges, high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, speak to these kids, tell them about entrepreneurship, tell them about the journey, tell them about my books, author life, write their story, write their book, write their, whatever they're passionate about writing, if it's their story, if their struggle, if it's science, if it's self-care, if it's whatever, science fiction, whatever their history, whatever they're passionate about, write it, romance, blah, 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 high schoolers, peer pressure, you can write on anything, all kinds of topics, kids books, Christian books, math books, science books, social study, history, who cares? Right. put your book out there, do it, become an author, become an entrepreneur. You know, you don't have to work the job and be just over broke, making someone else a brighter future, when you could be just over your broke like I am, for working for yourself, making yourself a brighter future. And so I got that stage I'm getting up on October 23rd through the 25th in Tomball. And then, you know, I did the high school event, back to school, this past Saturday. And then I have, you know, the book, third book is getting out there. It's going to get published before the end of the year, get into the movies, hopefully soon after. And just keep trying to write at least a book a year, maybe 2 books a year. Keep getting them out there, keep doing it. And then the modeling, you know, got that fantasy shoot that I'm probably going to get selected for. He's got the Miss Pinkalicious show that he created. He said, because I'm about pink, I'm all in pink, the lady in pink. And then he said, alicious, meaning, you know, you sparkle, you got that bling, that personality. And then I told him, you know, yeah, and then we always joke around like about being delicious and, you know, for your future husband or your future wife. And, you know, and we'd be cracking up. And he's like, he want to do some rides like I'm talking about the cash cab. I always want to do the cash cab show where you're asking questions like, bam, you won $1,000. You got it correct, you know. You know, give 3 questions, you know, ask like, what's the 44th president, blah, blah, blah. What's the, what state did this happen in, or what state is the Big Apple? You know, you could just make up whatever questions and create stuff, and then be like, bam, you got it wrong, you know, oh, you lost $1,000, you know, whatever, and have the karaoke mics and everything. And then he wants to have some just like I'll be talking about men auditioning for the part to be my husband, my future husband. And he's like, yeah, you can have them auditioning in here and having fun. And it's like people will be wild because, you know, people like porn, you know, but it'll be for a TV show. And just like for the movie, like the romance movie that I'm getting in, I'm the main character in my book and in the movie, Miss Impeccable. But now I can say Miss Pinkalicious. He said, that'll be your new name, Miss Pinkalicious. You know, because you sparkle, you shine. And I told him, I said, you're delicious. He's like, yep, you're delicious. And it's just so funny, you know, and you're inspiring, you know. And we were just cracking up, and he's going to do that, and he's going to do some business pranks. He said we can go in businesses. He's like, I want to have the cash cab vibe where you get some rides, but you got to get it all approved. You know, make sure it's the party people are going to do it, not the business people, that allow you to videotape them. He said he would pay $100 to every person that does a ride and allows me to tape them, and, you know, support Miss Impeccable with getting her riches towards getting her storefront and her books in the movies, her success, modeling, acting, getting up on runways, showcases, stages, inspiring around the world. I said that's what all this money would go for, is to go towards my success, get me out of debt, get me back into my home place so I'm not basically homeless like I am now, be able to buy food, be able to get a house, be able to get my business going, everything that I'm trying to do, get it going. That's what the money would go for. Get my credit back up because everything went down the drain. No business, this market, this industry, too highly competitive, too highly saturated. But I'm going to eventually get the right people that are willing to pay and willing to support Miss Pinkalicious, Miss Impeccable over here in the H-Town, you know. And as I said, he's going to do a YouTube channel, and he would share it. And he's like, you'll get so many people sharing it. It's like, hey, I need to check out Miss Pinkalicious over here, you know, making out, doing the business pranks. Like, hey, you know, you gave me a shitty product, shitty service. I want my money back. I'm going to give you a bad review. You know, just go in there and just playing, you know, pranking this company. It's like, y'all have sorry service, y'all are full of shit, you know, and all this kind of stuff. He's like, he wants me to act that out. He's like, you're really good at acting and entertaining. And he said people would love to laugh. They love humor, of course, and then they love, you know, porn and all that, you know, romance and movies and novels and all that. And then you can talk about your inspiration, how you talk to your rides, how you talk to him about my inspiration, inspiring, encouraging all this success. And he said also you could do another, it'd be like 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, the TV show. And you could do another 1 week, the fun stuff with the guys auditioning another week with some rides and the cash cab, and then you could do a week with the, you know, office pranks, going to business pranks, and then he said another week you could do like, you know, you go in and you see a boss, and you're going and flirting with a boss, you know, like a business owner. Basically, you see a business owner like, hey sexy, hey hot stuff, you know, and just mess with them even though they're married, single, or whatever. I was like, he's so crazy. I was like, really? I said, I guess, you know, as long as you don't get in trouble, you know, you don't do anything illegal, go to jail. He's like, nah, all you're doing is going in pranking. You're not threatening to kill nobody. You're not threatening to hurt nobody. We ain't doing none of that. It's just pranking, humor, fun, and all fun stuff, you know, just to get people to laugh and to watch, and to get the channel blowing up where you have trillions of followers, just like Grant Cardone's got millions or billions of followers, you know. So, you know, and he said that's what it's about, and that's what's going to bring in the money, the riches, he said, because he was trying to figure out a way to get me out of this situation, out of all this debt. I said, shoot, that'll work, doing a movie, doing a TV show, you know. I said, I've always been wanting to do that, cash cab TV show, the rides, and us having fun and partying in here, and create a TV show, you know, the cash cab TV show in Houston, from Houston. And then it sort of be like, you know, going into the offices. What is it? Oh, you're on candid camera. So you would go in to the businesses and be like, oh, you're on candid camera, you know, and flirt with the owners and go in there pranking, like, sorry, y'all, you know, and at the end of the prank, you know, saying, oh, you suck and your service sucks, this product sucks, you know, we're going to shut you down, get a lawyer, get a lawsuit, you know, just pranking them, right? And then at the end, you're like, oh, you were on candid camera, psych, you know, joke. I told him about that show. I said, I was like, what's the name of that TV show that used to be like prank, and, you know, it would catch people, you know, on the spot, you know, just catch them, you know, out of the blue. And it was the Candid Camera Show. And that was a good show. I used to watch it. You're on candid camera. Like, hey, you know. And then it would get everybody laughing after that prank. And he'd be like, oh, shit, that was all for fake. It was like, yeah, it was just made up, you know, all for fun, you know. So, you know, he's thinking of all this stuff, but I told him it's got to be in writing. I got to know that I'm going to get my riches, because I'm going to be the main character, the main actor in it. You know, it's going to be my show, but he's coming up with the funding and the photographer, the videographer. He's going to be putting it on YouTube and getting it out there. So I was like, I got to give my cut, you know. I ain't playing, you know, not putting myself out there for free. All this has got to be in writing. And then I told him about the cruise. Me and my best friend are leaving for our vacation. I said, we both don't have any money to take on the cruise, but we don't care. Everything's free food, free drinks. We're getting the F out of Houston tomorrow. That's why I took my fake nails off, because I can't afford to do them. And actually my real nails were long enough, and they cut them in half. They were too long. And I said, I need them short. And they did the French tip. And my best friend pretty much paid for it. My nails and toes, and got my eyebrows done. And then, you know, I paid for that, but then she paid for my eyelashes, because I get this nail salon that I met out there. I support him, and I brought her to one of his shops. He's got 3 nail salons. I met him on one of the chambers that I'm on. So I did my nails and toes for real cheap, like $40, and took off the nails. These are my real nails. My toes are the same. Both of us did the white French tips, and they look sexy and classy and cute. It'll go with all our dresses. This is my hat for the cruise to cover. And then, you know, I got these earrings at Sam Moon on the last day they closed. It was like 30% off everything. So I got everything like $1, $2. It was dirt cheap. I got this hat there. I say I got lucky, but it was just Jesus. I went in there on the last day they were open. They were closing the one in the Woodlands, and just so blessed. But that was all Jesus saving me money. And I got a lot of stuff for like $20 that I had on me. That's all I had on me. And I got her a pair of earrings and a little a little bracelet. And I got both of us a little swimsuit cover over, and you can wear it with outfits. I wore it yesterday. It's so cute, and it's pink. Mine's pink. Hers is purple, and got some colors in it and gold, and it's really cute, and a fancy design. It'll go with her swimsuits and her outfits and her dresses and shorts and shirts. And we're going to have the time of our lives on this cruise. And I got it for her birthday, and I got my other best friend I'm staying with. I got her a bracelet. I got her daughter a bracelet, because just like I said, it was like dirt cheap. And there you go. Got me a little swimsuit cover up to wear off the cruise and on the cruise, going to the hot tub. We're gonna have time of our life network, and gonna be two single ladies ready to mingle. And I tell her, I said, we're looking for some eligible bachelors on the cruise to take on these two eligible bachelorettes, And I said, we're ready to mingle, baby. We're ready to network and give out my card. I'm going to post up my whole company on my door like I always do. I post it up. And we're definitely looking, just like I said, we're looking for our eligible bachelor, our future husband, someone that's going to support me and accept me where I'm at, and know that, I might not have money, but I have heart, I have drive, I'm a giver, have everything else so much more going for me. Ambition, inspiration, encouragement, resilience, grit, determination, and that, if he finds me where I'm at now and supports me and helps me and accepts me, with not having money, but having everything else going for me, that's the kind of man you want, a man that truly finds you and accepts you where you're at now. But know, together, there's not going to be no more struggles. There's not going to be no more being homeless, being poor, being broke. No more struggles, no more being without. That we're going to have unlimited money, unlimited riches to come. Just got to support me and help each other make it happen. I support you in whatever you're doing. You support me, whatever we're doing. And then one day we both don't even have to work. We'll have all the money we need to do whatever we want. We can travel the world, go wherever we want and see the whole world. Go to all 50 states, go to all 200 and something countries, and just live our best fucking life. And that's what it's about, because I'm dreaming big and I'm claiming it. God's going to give it to me as long as you put in the hard work. You be that inspiration. You put God first in everything, and then you got to put each other second, your husband, your wife, and then everybody else is third, and so on, But your husband or your wife is supposed to be second in your life, God first in your life, and God's going to give it to me. But here he comes. Y'all have a good day.